Our new sponsor, Better, is a fast-growing daily fantasy sports app. When you sign up using promo code PLAYBOOK in all caps, you receive a free $10 and a 100% deposit match up to $25.
Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm buzzing. We had a pretty good trade deadline. Before I was talking about it's kind of, underwhelming and stuff like that. But going through these trades now, first of all, it's an historic amount, and there's some stars were traded. And, maybe the Giannis thing just hung over it a little too much for me. But pretty good trade deadline. How was your week in the NBA?
Yeah, same. It was a super fun deadline. Except it was all day 1 and 2. The last day it had some big trades, but it was pretty inconsequential. Maybe just because that was the day everybody was ready for it. Everybody was ready to go live, and there was nothing. There was just nothing. So it was kind of funny. Yeah, and then the Raptors didn't do much, which was kind of a tease.
Yeah,
just like Giannis was kind of a tease.
Giannis was the biggest tease of them all. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm sure we'll talk about some of that a little bit later. But first, I guess we'll just start off with some of the trades that happened. I guess one of the ones that happened on the February 5th first. We'll go through some of those. So Warriors probably wanted to. Wizards land Anthony Davis as the Mavericks pivot. And they start to break down more of their older core. And they were looking at a point in time to get rid of Kyrie too, it sounded like, but not too much, I guess, was on the table for him. So they trade Anthony Davis to the Washington Wizards for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Tyus Jones, Marvin Bagley, 2 firsts and 3 future seconds. Dallas gets Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. So, a pretty big trade when it's all said and done. A lot of players being moved. What were your first thoughts on that one when it first went down?
Despite a lot happening in that trade, there wasn't a lot of marquee assets in that trade. I think one of the first is the Thunder's first this year. Yeah. Right? So that could be the 30th. So it's essentially a package of seconds and bit players that all kind of got mixed together and sent out for Anthony Davis. And I think it's a really good acquisition for the Wizards, to be honest, right? It's Trae Young and Anthony Davis added to the core, but they're going to come in next year. They're not actually going to play this year. This is something that the Raptors did with Brandon Ingram last year, where you bring them in early, but you don't actually play them because you want a draft pick. Yeah. So, you look at any of these teams who are in gap years or building years. So teams like the Raptors or the Heat, for example, and you think couldn't they have added an Anthony Davis for next year for 5 seconds? Yeah. Is Washington willing to pay Anthony Davis? Is that the key to this? Or, is this let's see what it looks like next year and figure it out.
See what it looks like. And then maybe if it doesn't work, we'll just move him too. And the thing is right now, Anthony Davis doesn't seem too thrilled to be a Washington Wizard. Doesn't seem like it was an idea of his to get over there either. So we'll see if they do try to extend him, if he does accept it. I don't know if many other teams would offer him a max at this point. Any of the contenders, they kind of save their money. So he might just have to get his max there and try to figure it out later type of thing. But yeah, my mind too was this is a decent trade. You're going to get Trae Young and Anthony Davis back next year. On top of that, you should get a top 5 pick this year. And the draft is extremely good. So if you can manage to get a top 5 pick, you bringing in 2 all-stars next year, you're all of a sudden looking at a pretty competitive team for next year. So I think that's the thinking for the Wizards, and I think that's an appropriate one to do, because some of the players they've drafted aren't really star players. They're more complementary players, 2-star players, and they fit in next to these guys. And I think getting another star-ish player in this draft, if they're able to do that, it just adds to that package and makes them a more well-rounded team.
Absolutely. I actually kind of like the team build. If you think of the young players they have, Trae Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, right? This is a decent young core, like you say. Maybe there's nobody who's a superstar, but Anthony Davis is a superstar. That front court can protect a Trae Young, right?
Yeah.
Like he's probably in the safest defensive position he's ever been in his career now. He's got all kinds of weapons to play with. Like next year could be Trae Young's very best year.
Could be a good bounce back year for him.
You know, like I don't recall a Hawks team ever built the way that this Wizards team will be built. And you're right. And there's still a draft pick coming to this team. So Wizards, I think, are in a really good position. I think they made out maybe the best of anybody in the deadline.
They might have. I think the hope for, if you're Dallas, is that 2030 first round pick from Golden State ends up coming after like Steph is pretty much done, or they're done their run there. But they seem to always try to figure out a way to try and stay competitive. So it'll be that's probably the pick to watch. That could end up being a good value pick, depending how those guys age out. Speaking on the Wizards, the next trade here is Warriors adding Porzingis for Kuminga and Buddy Hield. So they finally got rid of the shackles of Jonathan Kuminga, sent him to Atlanta for Porzingis, because they did need a big. So this is a part of their thinking. Their front court has been lacking, so they brought in Porzingis, which I don't know, like I heard names like Gafford out there, stuff like that. I might have went somewhere that way because Kristaps, I mean, Gafford hasn't been that healthy either, but just because Kristaps is, we know his health history. This year he hasn't been much better either, and he's definitely on the decline of his career. But you want to get off Jonathan Kuminga, and you weren't playing Buddy Hield in the way that you thought you would. So I guess for the Warriors, this is an all right move for you to make.
Yeah, that's how I kind of see it. Like, it's all right. It's in a perfect world, Kristaps is maybe the best center, that Steph has ever played with. But, it's been health with Kristaps, right? So he hasn't driven to the basket very aggressively in like years. So he's a pick and pop big. So, you're not getting necessarily a pick and roll big. And I think that's where like a lot of the talk about Gafford was coming from. Like Gafford will get downhill, he'll get to the net, and you have a pick and roll big, right? Like Steph's going to be the shooter in the duo. So plus they had Quentin Post who gives you a pick and pop big, right? Like if that's the play you want to run, they have a guy who can do that, right? And a guy on the cheap. So a lot of the thought was, go get an athletic big to play with Steph and Draymond, Jimmy next year, and like give some looks. So, Kristaps, probably just the best you could do to get off Kuminga, and you had to get off Kuminga. And I think
that was not working.
That wasn't working. It's an interesting situation for Kuminga though over in Atlanta because, well, it's Jalen Johnson's team. He'll be the power forward, so Kuminga becomes a small forward. And then you've got a forward group of Jalen Johnson Jr. and Jonathan Kuminga. Like that's a pretty interesting wing duo.
That's a very athletic one. And then Zachary Richarche, whenever he's there.
Healthy, right?
Like, then you
that's
have that
right.
too. Just still, Kuminga still comes into a situation where he's still gonna have to like play well and earn his.
He could come off the bench.
He's still gonna have to earn his spot on this team. He should be starting for now. But I do like it for Kuminga. Like I think I would like it anywhere else on any other team for him. I think mentally for him, he just needed a fresh start. I don't think he was ever gonna get over the hurdle of Steve Kerr and like what they were asking of him. I just think those two just didn't mesh, and that's okay. Sometimes that's just how things go sometimes. So I think he just needs to be in a new situation with a fresh start where he can feel like people are actually invested in him and invested in his growth. I think as long as Atlanta provides that, I think he'll do all right over there. I do wonder for the Warriors, like some of these other bigs that we'll talk about later, like Zubac, Vucevic, who got moved, if there's a play there that they could have made for one of those type of bigs instead of Kristaps, but if not, then I think you're okay with just landing on this. My criticism would more so come with not moving Kuminga in the offseason or the year prior when we all knew that he didn't want to be there. He made it known he didn't want to be there. And Sacramento wanted to give a couple picks at that point in time for him. That'll be my biggest criticism of how they handled this thing. It's just not we could have saw this from a mile away that it wasn't going to work. So just not moving off that a little bit sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Like like a lot of the moves that came at the deadline, I kind of question why they were deadline moves. like a lot of stuff could have been done earlier in the season, could have been sorted out a roster, giving you a lot more, length to see if you have to do something else at the deadline. And it just seemed like everybody was staring each other down for value in a down market.
Yeah.
The Trae Young move really showed that it was going to be a down market.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, not teams
like
were
a
not
buyer's market.
Yeah, teams were not out there to just like throw away like picks like they were in the in the past. For sure, they're really looking at like what they have on their team, what can they get rid of, what is valuable to them, not only on the court but contract wise as well. What picks are valuable to them at this point, what picks they're trying to get back that are going to be like, all of this was very seemed to be very calibrated carefully for them.
Having strong value rosters, I think is like the number one goal of front offices under this new CBA, right?
100%.
It's maximizing, production for dollar in every aspect of your roster build.
Yeah, you're not even seeing a lot of these salary dumps happening anymore. Like, they're just not happening. Teams are just not taking in contracts.
They're just not taking them. Yeah. Like, there was one team with cap room, and it was like Brooklyn, and they kind of like used it, but they didn't. I don't even think they used it all, did they?
No, I don't think so. And then they waived Cam Thomas after.
Yeah, because they just don't want to pay Cam Thomas.
Yeah, it's just
like his production says pay me a certain amount, but like his value as a winning player maybe suggests something else. Like, Cam Thomas should be a great 6-7 on a team, absolute microwave scorer. We need some buckets. It's not working. Just bring in an energy guy, bring in a chucker. Let's get some points on the board and get some rest and get back at it, right? Like, that's a valuable player in the NBA. But like Cam Thomas, that role might only get $5 million now. That used to get $25 million.
Yeah, that used to be a bit. All those players, Anthony Simons got moved. Like, all these type of players are like these microwave scorers, especially if you're weak on the defensive end. Their value has just sunk over the last like couple years, like absolutely gone. Like,
just
with how much scoring happens now in the NBA, with how much high scoring happens in the NBA. The guard position now can't just be a guy who can't play defense anymore. You need everybody on your court, everybody on the court to be a defensive player at some capacity. You can't be a negative on that end. And if you're not a negative if you are a negative on that end, you better be Luka. Like, you better be Luka.
Yeah.
You better be like someone who's so incredible on offense or have a skill on offense that's so irreplaceable that they have to play you. You better be a Duncan Robinson. But even Duncan, he provides some type of defensive IQ to the game, more so than a Cam Thomas might. So it's just like, that archetype, and that's why the Heat also waiting so long to like move a Tyler Hero. Now like he's also one of those type of players. A little bit better than that because he can play make as well. Cam Thomas has absolutely zero playmaking. He had like a 40-point game, 0 assists. Like, he's not a guy who's passing the ball whatsoever. Hero is a tier above, but when you look at like Anthony Simons, he's also a tier above Cam Thomas. He's getting moved twice in a year.
Do you think that the Heat are going to be extra motivated to move Tyler Hero this offseason then? Like, they're really hoping he has a great second half of the season. There's a little bit of buzz around his scoring, and you guys move him in the offseason.
I would hope
you take what you take. Hopefully
I hope they do, but I hope they do. But I think with the way that the Heat have been doing things, they're going to see what's going on with Giannis first, even though I think that's dead in the water. They're going to absolutely see. And if there's anything to do with Giannis, they're going to hold off trading Tyler Hero until they know that situation. As long as once they know that situation is cleared up, I 100% think they need to move him. You can't pay him. The Heat can't. If they want to be a competitive team, they can't be the ones to pay him that much to be a player who's missed so many games. And we don't know when he's going to be healthy and stuff like that. You don't know when he's going to show up or not. He's missed a lot of games, similar to like Darius Garland, who we'll talk about a bit later, who got moved as well. It's like, when you miss these many games, you could be a great player, but again, when you're at that guard spot, it's so valuable to be on the court and to be a two-way player and to be durable that you do that and you're Norm Powell and you get an all-star.
Absolutely, yeah.
So like, But I just think Tyler Hero, through all the years, he's still young. He should still have some type of value that you got to move him at this point. And like you've been trying to get stars for like these past few years, and you've been a little light on assets. Hero might be like one of your last chances to like get even more. You're getting your 4 picks in the offseason, but at a 5th, at a 6th. So you could really outbid anybody when that star asks to come to your team.
Would you suggest Hero right now is a negative, neutral, or positive asset?
He's only neutral because he doesn't have his next contract yet. So
yeah, fair. I would think right now he's neutral, but
the second
this time next year he could easily be a negative asset.
Yeah, the second he gets that extension, which is why for a team like Washington or something like that, like a team like Brooklyn, they could afford to do something with Tyler Hero and see if like he gives them like another run. Utah. I know Utah also made some moves too, some interesting moves as well. Yeah. But if Utah, some of these like teams are like just looking to get into like the play-in playoffs next year, I think they could use a Tyler Hero. I think they'll be the teams that the value is still kind of there for them, and they could probably pay him. And he won't command a max, I don't think, from another team if he's traded. But it's still like 30 mil.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what is like a Tyler Hero value anymore? Like in this world, what's his like to a team? Like what kind
I wouldn't see him higher than.
Do you want to slot him in at like 20 million?
I was going to say 20 to 25,
5th, 6 million, or 5th, 6th man kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And like a good 100%. Value would be like 15 million. But like Tyler Hero sees himself as a max player, right? Like the way that he grew up and he watched the NBA and the type of archetype players who got paid, he crafted his game after, right? Like, he went out and he trained this way. He became this player for a reason. And now the NBA is saying this player isn't as valuable. Like his agent's going to go out there and be like, no, this player is still this valuable. And this is going to be the push and pull, I think, right now, is that the NBA is moving towards a completely different style of player at the moment and a different style of contract. And there's so many good players that I think front offices can finally start playing hardball, and players are going to not get paid the way that they used to. And it's going to be a big shock. And so players, like I don't think Tyler Hero is a max player.
No, right? 100% not.
I don't. And I don't think he's a $30 million player. And
no. This year has shown.
I think there's enough replacement that I'm willing to walk away from him if he gets too hard in free agency.
Like I think there's a real chance that he just let him walk. Like I could.
Yeah.
And that would be honestly the worst, not the worst, but the worst would be extending him. But that's probably the second worst would be
overpaying him's the worst.
Yeah, overpaying him, extending him would be the worst. Yeah. But I think second worst is just letting him walk for nothing when there was times these last couple of years where he had value and you would have been able to get something a little more for him.
I think that's the biggest shock though. This is the challenge, is that the market moves so quickly.
Yeah.
That there wasn't really like a betting in time. It's kind of like this happens every once in a while where like the market moves so quickly, or front offices just interpret things so wrong. Like I think of the last time like the TV money went up significantly and all kinds of guys got paid who like really weren't worth the money. And this is almost like the opposite, where it's like the CBA has put such a hard cap on things that now guys can't get paid, despite the fact that this is the most money that's ever been in the NBA. Right?
Yeah. They can't actually
get paid. Yeah.
Benefit from that because of the way that the cap structure has been. The 2 aprons. If the 2 aprons were just the idea of the aprons was fine. It's just that the where they set in is brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. Brutal.
Asset values.
Asset values and how to manage them.
101.
101.
Welcome to the University of Ball.
So I think the last one we this ain't the Hangout no more. This is the NBA University. I think the last trade we talked about was the Kuminga one. So we're on to the Pacers, who traded for Ivica Zubac, who even knew he was available, but Indiana. They traded him for Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick as well. This year's first and 2029's first, which is decent value for Zubac. So I see why the Clippers said yes. I'm shocked that they went this route. They still seem like they're trying to be somewhat competitive because they didn't like make Kawhi available. I don't think after Zubac was traded and James Harden was traded. I think they still want to be competitive. But I guess when you get an offer like that, you kind of just got to take it.
A little bit. Like, it's a good offer, but it's not like a great offer. Like, that's a protected 2026 pick. It's protected 1 through 4 and I think like 11 through 30. Like,
see,
so unless it falls between between 5 and 10, you know, it turns into like an unprotected 31 pick or something.
That's a smart,
just like pick. Much later.
Because I think if you don't hit the 4, I think that you automatically jump to like 11 or something like that. I don't think you get.
Okay. So it's like almost, it's almost impossible to convert.
Yeah, it'll be like a small percentage. Yeah.
So, you know, maybe it converts, maybe it doesn't, but you know, we're talking about contract value. Like, Avicii Zubac is like really good contract value. I think he makes less than $20 million a year. He's a top 10 center in the league. He's, you know, completely different than Miles Turner, you know, so we talk about like Porzingis pick and pop versus like pick and roll. Like, Turner was a pick and pop. Zubac will be a pick and roll, right? So it's going to be a completely different look for Indiana and Halliburton when he gets back.
But I think for Halliburton, that's an excellent partner for him. He just comes off of playing with Harden all this time, so he has all this pick and roll experience coming from the Clippers, and Halliburton, a terrific passer, a terrific pick and roll player. Like, this is just going to benefit him. I think more so than the Miles Turner did when he was over there. I think this is an excellent match for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, as we're talking about paying players, like, you know, are the Clippers gonna pay Benedict Mathurin? Right, like, Benedict Mathurin is in this mold where his value has changed significantly. Like the league wants to pay him one thing. His, you know, like, history and his agent and himself are going to want like a completely different thing. And that's just going to be a tough negotiation. And, you know, like, it seems like a lot of teams don't want to take on that negotiation. So they're just kind of moving this guy
to
somebody else. To actually do the contract negotiation. But overall, like, I think it's good, fair value. I think it's really interesting. Like Darius Garland, Benedict Mathurin, Kawhi Leonard. Like, you know, that's an interesting Clippers still. They got to figure out the big situation, but you know, they're another team that's in a gap year, right? Yeah. So, I like it. This was my favorite move. I was a little disappointed the Raptors didn't pay this price. I think it was an appropriate price. Like,
I think the Raptors could have matched this.
I think they could have come up with something close. Yeah.
100%. I like it, especially when we talk about like the Wizards, when you're building teams for next year and with the mind of next year, you're thinking of Halliburton coming back next year, and you're bringing in Zubac to fit in with Siakam and Halliburton. I think that's an excellent just like builder, and we'll see what else they try to build into offseason to just fill out this roster so they can be one of the top teams in the East again, as they were before Halliburton got his injury. And then a current top team of the East also going out and getting a big, which this trade I actually really like too, is with the Celtics adding Nikola Vucevic for Anthony Simons and a second round pick. Peyton Pritchard's been more or less their guard guy, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, so they're afforded the luxury of being able to move Anthony Simons again for a player that they needed more so. They needed a big bat. Their front court was in dire position ever since Kristaps left, ever since Horford left. So now you get in a professional big who just knows his role, knows how to play properly in both ends of the court. A little bit of a negative on defense, but that's okay. We expect Mazzulla. We expect the Boston team to be able to just hold it down on that end of the court anyways. Yeah. So I think this is a really good trade for a team that's looking now to compete and stay flexible at the same time while they wait for Tatum to come back.
Yeah, this is another one of those, like, you know, annoyingly smart trades that Boston pulls off all the time where, you know, you look at it, you're like, that's not very exciting. But then it just turns into like really strong value for the Boston Celtics. And if somebody else were to try and replicate it, it just wouldn't work. It's kind of like when the Heat get like get like trouble. This is why, like, why didn't they get John Morant? Like, you know, I would have been like, oh, Heat won the deadline if they got John Morant for like Wiggins and change.
That's literally
because you guys would rehabilitate a superstar. It's what you do.
Like that's literally all Heat fans wanted was just, even though the jaw thing could absolutely not work out. So I understand why they didn't want to do it, but it's like, why not? You've had the same team for like 2-3 years now. Just do something.
And it's not doing anything. Yeah.
Just do something. Like, it's not gonna like ruin your future. Like, just do it. You don't have to pay him either. You don't have to pay him his next contract. You have years to decide that.
If the Wizards can get Anthony Davis and Trae Young for what they got Anthony Davis and Trae Young for, then the Heat could get John Morant and Zion.
They can get John
and have a lot of fun. Right? They might not win anything, but it would be a lot of
nothing.
Fun.
But it'll be fun. At least it'll be fun.
It would be great. You know.
Sorry, but you were saying about cut off your point there, about staying fun.
Yeah, so it's just what the Boston Celtics do is they make good value plays. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't have thought of Nikolai Vucevic as helping anybody, but then he goes to Boston and it just makes sense. The Heat should have done it because I'm just really disappointed in their deadline. That's just me. Sorry.
We have a lot of people in Miami that are very disappointed in the Miami Heat, and they will not be too excited with this recap because there's nothing to talk about for them.
There's nothing. Really, all that there is to talk about is like, what does doing nothing mean about the Heat's future? Like, what are their goals? Like, what does doing nothing actually say?
Yeah, because they weren't buyers. They weren't buyers, nor were they sellers.
No, right?
They didn't do either of the things.
They may, Chicago still seems really directionless, but I was like, they may take over Chicago as like the most directionless franchise to like an outside observer. Yeah, top 3 in that department for sure. It's just like, what do you guys want? You traded Jimmy, which is fine. Yeah.
So we should be into a new era now, which is cool. You tried to do the Hero and Bam thing. Hero has played like 6 games, so that's not working. You got to move on from that. You could have even moved him at the deadline just to move him, because what is he doing for your team right now? He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, so might as well just trade him. Get ready for the off season.
That's it. Like, just make the call.
Either way,
pull the Band-Aid.
You're gonna be in the play-in either way. Either way, you're gonna be in the play-in, whether you trade him or not. You'll find a way to make it into the play-in.
Do they own this year's 26 pick?
Yeah, they have this pick.
Yeah, so like, you should have done everything to make that pick as good as it could be. Like, the only time you don't do that is spite. Like the Clippers not owning their first pick, and they don't want it to go and be like,
OKC.
Top 5 pick to OKC. So you play well out of spite, right? So to hurt an opponent, you're playing well, right? But the Heat have no reason to. Just
do some things.
Yeah.
Trade some things, and what happens. It really does not matter. It does not matter this year. So, like,
this isn't even the core of the team that's going to next compete, right?
No,
so it's not even like it's not even like, Bam needs some playoff experience, right? Like, Bam's played with Team USA.
Yeah. He's been in the finals twice. He's good. He's got
good. It. Yakachonis, sorry, like, he doesn't need it this year. Like, he's only just started playing.
No, he just needs reps. He just needs general reps. He doesn't need to. You just let him play.
So it's not even like you're a team. Like, the Raptors are a little different because it's like, okay, this is a bunch of young players.
Yeah, they need to playoffs.
Reps in the playoffs. So, you need to get this team to the playoffs, right? Even though they're not going to win. And if you're not going to win, what are you doing? You need to get there for the experience.
And you need to see what this team looks like in the playoffs. Yeah. For the Heat, they more or less seen it last year. It's the same team.
It's just add Norman
Powell. Yeah, it's not. We know it's not going to go anywhere. With the Raptors, at least, like, you don't know what this core can do in the playoffs. You don't know where the deficiencies really lie when the playoffs happen. So you kind of need to see it. You kind of need them to play as hard as they can and see it in the playoffs to see what exactly they are. For the Heat, you don't. You absolutely don't.
They absolutely were a team that could have tore it down or bought value plays like an Anthony Davis or a Trae Young, and they didn't do anything. maybe they were just too fixated on Giannis, but like I feel like you should have had a feeling whether or not.
I mean, that's what they'll say.
Truly in the Giannis game.
That's what they'll say. They'll say that they were like it was Giannis or nothing type of thing, but it shouldn't be that. It should be like Giannis. I mean, it did feel like he was going to get moved the most out of all the times that it sounded like he might get moved, but like you can't. You've done this a couple of times now with Dame. You did it with KD last year. You did it, so you're doing it with Giannis again too. It's like you try to. I mean, the difference is with Giannis, it sounds like you put everyone on the table. Everyone was available for trade for this time, but with KD, you know that you held back some players and you just kind of, and you know you didn't give your best offer. With Dame, similar thing, but you weren't as aggressive as you should have been initially because you heard that he wanted your team. But you've not even on 3 stars in a row, and probably more if you want to include Donovan Mitchell, which is like, I don't know how much that was a realistic possibility. But some people will throw Donovan in that loop. So then there's 4 stars you missed out on. This season, you're not getting Giannis. When you go into those negotiations, you got to have a backup plan. You got to be like, okay, the last 3 times this hasn't worked out well for us. So if this doesn't work out well, what are we doing? Are we going for Ja? Are we just going to get some slight improvements so we can make a run this year? Are we going to sell off on some players so that when the next star comes, we have the proper assets to go for them? But you would think doing nothing wouldn't have been the solution at that point.
No. And I think one thing you need to like worry about when you do nothing is like Miami is one of the rare teams that's like considered a free agent destination, right? Which gives them a lot of like pull and a lot of like power in this league. But if you don't do anything and you don't support the stars that you are bringing in, you lose that destination appeal, right? Like the New York Knicks should be a free agent destination forever. It's New York City, right? But until Brunson got there, nobody wanted to go to the Knicks. Let's be honest.
Like, chose Brooklyn.
Exactly. Like that was not a place you went to win. That's not a place that's going to go and make smart decisions and support you and support your championship dreams. And like, if Miami's not careful, they're going to lose that credibility. Yeah, for sure. Really soon.
And if you lose it from a guy like, and what would be the worst situation for them is if they continue to do nothing like this, and then Bam wants out. Bam, the one guy that you've touted as like the culture guy, the guy's going to be there forever. We're never trading this guy, blah, 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 blah. If you keep doing nothing and you keep, because he's getting there now, he's getting 28, 27, 28. Yeah. He's getting into like, you know, he's in his prime. He's going to want to win. He's tasted the finals twice. He got injured the first time and he probably feels like if he's on the court, that finals goes different. But he's been to the finals twice. He's going to want that. Guys who go to the finals early in their career always want to go back to the finals at some point in their career. And if they don't see it from the team that they're on, they start to get wandering eyes. And I think at some point, if you cannot bring in these guys that Bam has also wanted to bring in as well, KD, Dame, all these guys are players, Giannis, those are all his friends. He wants to play with these guys. If you cannot get them to your team, he's going to try and get to their team at some point.
Absolutely. Right. So, I think for the sake of, you know, the future of Miami, they need to have a really impressive offseason. Like maybe it's Giannis, but if it's not Giannis, they better have some alternative plans.
Yeah.
They need to go out and like, you know, they talk about like the Showtime Lakers or, you know, you go to the Knicks and you're big time Broadway, right? Like, you're something to tune into, right? The Heat needs to be a team to tune into. They don't need to just be a good team. They need to be like an NBA highlights,
a spectacle team.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you know, like Memphis said they lowered the price on Ja. What does that mean? Right. Then they said like he didn't get traded. Then they said like, we're going to trade him in the offseason. 100% we're going to trade him. So does the price lower again? And can you make Ja spectacular again? And can you bring in like, can you rehabilitate, you know, troubled assets? Because that might be the easiest way to
it could be the easiest way. I think before we started recording, we talked a little bit about like Trey Murphy's value and something like that. It could be even that. Let's say you miss out on Giannis and Giannis is staying for sure. Send those picks and get Trey Murphy. Just do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Trade for Trey Murphy. Try to bring in like some just bring in something that's gonna give a little more energy to the franchise. A young player who it makes sense to give picks away for. The fan base will understand that. They're not gonna be mad that you have no picks again. You went for Trey Murphy, who has good value. I think you do things like that. I wonder if after the Clippers made this Zubac trade, what they would have thought about a Kawhi offer, if anyone even offered anything, what they would have looked at it as. It's either a guy forever, or if they get a good offer, are they just like a team that's like, oh well, that's good enough, we'll do that trade type of thing.
Are you setting up for cap space in the 2027 offseason when Jokic and Giannis should be available?
And Donovan Mitchell,
free agents.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So and Donovan Mitchell, there's been whispers again about like if the Cleveland Cavaliers don't make the playoffs, or not to make the playoffs, they don't have a deep playoff run, he'll have wandering eyes too. He's not going to sign his extension, allegedly. So, I mean, they say that they're doing that, but they've said that they were doing that for 2026 offseason. They said they're doing that for 2025 offseason. So, like at this point, they could say that. They could say that's the reason, but it has to be followed with some action at this point. And free agency isn't what free agency used to be. It's more of like free agency is more so used to set up your asset tank so that you can make trades, because players aren't moving in free agency in the same way. They're doing signing trades the year before, and then they're signing their extension. So you have to be prepared a little earlier to make those trades before that free agency hits.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's like they're in a I think they're in more of a make and break situation than they're letting on to.
Yeah, 100. Yeah.
And I think the Miami fans are aware of it and they're trying to sound the alarm, but it's one of those things. Like, unless Miami is like the LeBron Miami, you guys get criminally under coverage on the national media as far as the clever things, right? Like, it's always like the national media is always like, oh, why isn't Miami better? But they don't look into why. They just pose the question.
The only time that even when they were first in the East in the 2022, Miami finished first that year, and they were like one of the least talked about teams nationally. And they had that was one of their best built. That was the first year with Lowry. Jimmy was still looking really good. PJ Tucker was on the team. Bam was doing Bam things, and that Duncan was the starter. Like, that was you had Hero off the bench. That was one of their better built teams for that year, and they went to the conference finals and they lost by a Jimmy 3. They were almost went to the finals that year, and they would have played the Warriors, who Boston beat. They would have been a competitive, or no, Boston won that year. Maybe. I'm starting to lose track of all these years now. Boston won one of the years, lost one of the years. But yeah, that was one of their best built teams. I think ever since that moment, that was a free agency they set out for. They went and got Kyle Lowry. They went and got PJ Tucker. Those were their 2 offseason moves, and it fit perfectly, and it got them to the conference finals, which was an excellent moves by them. But ever since then, they haven't been in the national spotlight. Even when they were first, they were in a national spotlight. It takes a star coming there to really bring that on them. And ESPN and those networks will talk about them once they have a star. They like talking about the Heat when they have stars. Yeah,
right. But it's also like one of those things. Like, they'll talk about any team when a star is
stars,
right. It's a star-driven league, but there are also just like those teams, like the Lakers, like the Celtics, like
they get talked about no matter what. Yeah,
they get talked about, and Miami was in that conversation for a long time, and they should always aim to be in that conversation. It's my opinion. Yeah. It's my point.
No, they should for sure. They are not there right now though, and I don't know when they'll be back in that conversation. A team in that conversation is the Timberwolves. Also a Giannis shooter.
Yeah.
And they're in that conversation.
Nice transition, by the way.
I got us there. Nice. They made a couple moves this offseason. We'll talk about the last move first, which was getting Dasum Ayo and Julian Phillips. Ayo being a pretty good, just like 2-way point guard. Which they kind of need. Just a table setter. Not a guy that's going to be too crazy for you. But he will do the stuff that you need, and he won't interrupt what Anthony Edwards is trying to do. So they got him. They traded away Rob Dillingham and Leonard Miller with 4 second-round picks because they didn't have any first. That's why I was confused about how. That's when those Giannis conversations were really getting loud. Going to Minnesota, I'm just like, how are they doing this? Like, how are they in the conversation? How are they even being considered at this point, because it's a strictly that you'd have to break down everything on your team and trade them to like 3 different teams to accumulate the type of picks that would be necessary to give the Bucks. And then on top of that, you'd be giving up either Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle to match salary, and it's still like, that's a lot.
Oh, and you'd still have to give up like McDaniels as well.
I mean, Benaz is gone, Nasri's is gone, like all these guys are going to be gone. So I was like, how are they even like getting talks for this? But shout out to them.
I think they were in the conversation because they were like a team that like Giannis identified, because I think he said he wanted to play with Anthony Edwards.
He did. Yeah, he did.
So it was like, I don't think it was quite like a demand like, oh, I have to go to Minnesota. But if Minnesota could put something together, like I'd sign an extension there.
Yeah.
Right?
But I never wanted to leave. And you never heard.
But I never want. Yeah, this is my home, and I'm a Buck forever. Even though I want to own a new home. Yeah. Oh, Giannis.
Just my agent has just been saying crazy things. I can't control him. Yeah. That's just my agent.
That's why I'll never fire him.
Wasn't me, guys.
Yeah, I don't understand like the Minnesota buzz of it all, but yeah, this was a good little trade for them.
I like this trade for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, and like they're gonna get Mike Conley back through a little loophole shenanigans, which is pretty good. Like he's just a good stabilizing, because it'll be like Dusomu and Dante playing the point, and actually both are more like two guards with a little bit of playmaking chops, right? And it's the fact that like Anthony Edwards has like playmaking chops that you can kind of make this like backcourt out of like two guards.
Yeah.
Especially if it'll be nice to have like Mike Conley back as a proper point guard. They might think about going and getting Chris Paul as just like that extra level of depth.
Yeah.
Just to have professional point guards on the roster, because like Minnesota has championship aspirations, and right now they have a wonky backcourt, we'll say, right? Like I like the acquisition, but it doesn't like
problem.
Yeah, it doesn't change too much.
Yeah, this trade will definitely help them for the playoffs. Like it'll be good for this year in the playoffs. It's probably all they really could have realistically done to kind of like help their team right now. So I think for them it's fine, since they won't be able to. I didn't expect them to do much else with the limited assets that they do have. But yeah, for the Timberwolves, I think this is a good one. They get in a guard. Then it's not the guard that they need. I think they tried to kick the can about Lonzo Ball, but not Lonzo, LaMelo Ball. But that he's not going anywhere now, with Hornets being like the best team in the NBA, so they can't trade that guy. Low key, but not a bad trade.
Not a bad trade.
I'm gonna skip the Suns adding Cole Anthony, although that's good. They got 6-man Cole Anthony. The Kobe White trade to the Hornets is also interesting. We talk about that one. So the Hornets got Kobe White and Michael Conley Jr., who will be waived and going to Timberwolves. And Chicago receives Sexton, Zhang, and 3 seconds from the Charlotte Hornets, which is just I guess for the Hornets, they're moving into this era of just trying to be a little bit more, they're getting more of like these table setters, more of these like guys who've been around the league, veteran-ish guys. Kobe White, I think, now qualifies as like a vet. I know Colin Sexton was as well, but Kobe White's just a little bit better playmaker, a little bit better shooter, a little more reliable on the end of the court. So getting that guy in to fit in your system, I think it's just a fine trade. You don't lose much in the process.
No, at first when I saw this one, I didn't quite understand, because I was like, well, Colin Sexton is going to give you like a lot of what Kobe White does. But then you start to like contextualize it, and like Charlotte's like the best team in the NBA right now. They're figuring out like they're living up to their potential. Like this backcourt is now working, and like Con Knipple being that additive piece that we said he would be at the draft is absolutely true, and more. So like when Colin Sexton comes in, like we talked about Cam Thomas, like Sexton's a little bit of a chucker. Like he's more of a playmaker than Thomas ever will be, but less than Kobe White. Kobe White is a little bit more going to fit into the system, be a little bit more conducive to what Charlotte's trying to do. And he's probably going to get like the same price that Collins on right now, right? Like in and around 20, 25 million. That's going to be White's extension, which, okay, he's going to be your six man. But I think he's going to be like a high use six man. So if you get him at $20 million, that's an appropriate contract. And it's additive to Charlotte and what they want to do. And I think we'll get into Charlotte a bit later, but
yeah. This is going longer than I thought, but
this is a long one. We got into a lot of heat, like
talk for a team that
which
did
I enjoyed,
nothing.
but that's me.
I'm gonna skip some of these other lower class. Knicks added Alvarado, which is nice. I like that.
That's cool. That's smart. Yeah,
I like that. Busole, Raptors getting Trace Jackson Davis. How do you feel about that? You got a little bit more big depth.
This is like I said it earlier in the pod. Like this is one of those things that like the Raptors could have done months ago and probably should have done months ago. Like it was just smart. Like they traded. Wow, we traded him and I'm forgetting his name. Golly, sorry.
Abaji?
Yes, Ochai Abaji. We traded Ochai Abaji for salary relief, which is the Chris Paul trade. Chris Paul will get waived at some point when it makes sense for the Raptors and their contracts. And then with the difference, we were able to get Jackson Davis for a second, which is just good, smart balancing of a roster. Could have been done months ago. Should have been done months ago, honestly.
Gotta wait till the trade deadline.
Yeah, so the Raptors were a bit of a tease, but you talk about negative contracts. That's Jakob Poeltl might be the worst contract in the NBA at this moment. And the Raptors weren't willing to pay first to get off of it, and that's exactly what you needed to do. So they're going to hope that he rehabilitates. They're going to say like, look, we're not actually a championship team this year, so we've got some time to spend. And they didn't spend the assets, and it's really boring as a fan. And I would have liked like something fun, like a Sabonis or a Jaren Jackson Jr. or an Ivica Zubac or even an Anthony Davis, something to get me excited. But I got Trace Jackson Davis, who is really Raptors-y, and he's going to fit in, and it's just smart business. That's all.
Yeah, that's all that was. And I guess we touched on it there. Other trade was the 3-team trade. Chris Paul going to be waived. Lakers trade for Luke Kennard. They finally got off of Gabe Vincent. They've been trying to trade him for quite some time. They get a shooter around Luka.
They get a shooter. Smart piece of business. That's another good one. Yeah, there's a lot of these like small deals that are just like could have been done at any point in the season, but it's the smart piece of business that should have been done.
Yeah, Jacques Landale to Utah. For Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball going to be dumped,
waived. Yep, that's just cap it.
Let's get to where is it? Yes, the Cavs trade for Harden.
This is an interesting one. Yeah,
Cleveland Cavaliers trade Darius Garland and a future second for James Harden. After I guess James Harden found out, or they went to him and said, "Look, we're not going to give you this crazy extension. Is there any teams you want to go to?" He decided Cleveland's a good team, and now he's a Cleveland Cavalier, doing his step backs as recently as last night. Saw some happen. Setting up Jared Allen, doing all the stuff that we know James Harden to do. How do we like this trade on first thoughts?
I like this trade. This is Cleveland saying we're in the window. We're going to push our chips in. Like it. For all of Harden's flaws, he has a lot of positives. Like we probably have the most exciting and dynamic backcourt now of guys who could shoot or drive at any given time. It made me excited, but it also made me like want more. Like I was like, oh, what if they go further? Like what if they're like, we can't get the return for Jared Allen, but Evan Mobley could get us Trey Murphy and Zion and plus, right? Like
get crazy with it.
What could that be? And then I was like, I got really speculative with Cleveland, and they only did that. But it's a good piece of business. Like it'll help them this year, but like it's not a long term. It's got to work.
Yeah, this year. I think for Garland too. I think him and Mitchell just playing together wasn't the ideal fit for Garland. I think defensively it's really tough. And he's like similar to Tyler Hero, he just was not healthy. It's hard for him to stay healthy. smaller guard, defensive liability, can't be healthy. It's hard to keep these guys and extend them. So I think moving for James Harden in the win now trade to try and appease Donovan Mitchell to keep him in your city, I think it's fine. We'll see how it works out. I don't know if we'll get them any further in the playoffs, but at least they have another threat offensively to work with.
And at least they're trying, right? Like they could have kicked the can down the road, and then what?
Yeah,
Donovan leaves just because nothing's happening. They're not getting any better, right? Like Keon Ellis didn't put them over the top, so it is what it is. It's an attempt.
Yeah,
right. It's something that, it's something that like a Lakers would do. It's sometimes change is good.
I still wish that the Garland move was for someone that was a wing, but so maybe LeBron's coming home next year, I guess. Sixers trade for.
Are there any AI companies in Cleveland right now looking for a brand ambassador for, I don't know, roughly $65 million so LeBron can get paid a minimum?
Maybe Aspirations out there. I don't know.
Aspiration East.
Aspiration East. Thunder trade for Jared McCain. This was kind of a shocking one, but again, something that OKC can handle. They can just do this. They could just send a first in 3 seconds and it mean absolutely nothing to them. so why not?
Yeah, and McCain was in a spot where like Philadelphia was unexpectedly good this year. They didn't have room to rehabilitate McCain, right? So it's a good gamble. It's a good gamble by the Thunder because you're right, they have way too many picks and they just need some players, I guess, right? And sending out 4 picks, honestly, for one player is like kind of smart business for the Thunder right now because they can't accommodate 4 new contracts, but they can accommodate 1 new contract.
And they got someone on a rookie deal.
Yeah, he's on a rookie deal, and if he doesn't work out, you don't re-sign him.
You don't send him.
Whatever, you got 1,000 more picks.
1,000% fine. Like I think the emergence of like VJ Edgecombe as well, that really kind of pushed Jared McCain's like their priority of him just went down. So I think it's good for both teams. Sixers get a first round pick, they get some seconds, they get some stuff to the war chest when they want to make another win now move. And Jared McCain finds a new home, and I think Thunder could use his offensive spark. They could use shooting around Shea. And if he works out, then it's great. It'll be great for the Thunder as a depth piece.
100%. Yeah, good move. Yeah.
Tyus Jones for money. Let's talk about Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz.
Okay. Yeah, this one's interesting.
You got Jaren Jackson. So Utah receives Jaren Jackson Jr., Jock Landale, John Conchier, Vince Williams Jr. Honestly, a lot of young players from Minnesota who have had like some potential being shown at different points of like the last couple of years. Memphis receives Walton Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, George Niang, and 3 future first round picks. How did you like this trade?
I thought this was like a good trade in that, like, like Walter Clayton Jr. He was like the best player in college basketball last year, right? Like,
something like that.
Finished the finals, won like best player. He's an older player, but he's interesting. Taylor Hendricks has always been interesting, just never really had an opportunity to show. So there's that. 3 picks. I think it's 3 firsts.
Yep.
Like it felt like a very achievable price for a lot of teams. Like I will continuously go back to the Raptors, especially in their like looking for a big, and it's like, could you not have Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, some more throw in 3 firsts? Like Jaren Jackson Jr. would be a really good big between like next to Scotty and
especially with his shooting, because Jaren Jackson Jr.
is shooting. Like Scotty's going to do the rebounding.
That's the thing. Like his weakness is rebounding. So the Raptors definitely would have been able to cover that up with Scotty, RJ, or RJ would probably be gone, but with Scotty and like Brandon Ingram, and they'll find ways.
It was interesting because there's like now rumors in the Toronto sphere that like they were trying to get Walker Kessler, and that was the underreported deal that they had pushed really hard for Walker Kessler. So maybe this was a result of Utah getting Jaren. But also like, okay, that didn't happen. So let's look at Utah just by themselves now. And, look at that front court of Walker Kessler Jr., Jaren Jackson
Jackson
Jr.
Jr.
and Lauri Markkanen. Oh, and Ace Bailey's your 2.
If he pans out, yeah, he's your 2.
He's your 2 at
And
6'8",
and Collier's like
6'9".
and no, Keontae's been their point guard. Keontae's been very good at
both Keontae and Collier though are like 6'3", I think. They're like not
bigger.
small, but they're not like big. But still, they're fast.
Nasty.
They're fast and they know what to do with all these like giants. So it's funny because like the Raptors are building like a small ball team and Utah is building like a really tall ball team.
Big boy team.
And it's like it was only a couple of years ago where it was like, is the era of the center over? Is the era of the giant player over? And now it's like, Wemby runs the league. Jokic is the best player.
Yeah.
Like Utah's like nothing but bigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like what they're building now in Utah. Like I like that little 3 front court, the 2 guards there. Like, yeah, I think they got something going down in Utah for again. These are a lot of these trades seem to be setting up like next year. Like I think for next year this will be a nice one to see it pan out.
And then the other side is like, what is Memphis doing? So Memphis is a brave team. They have said like, look, we have Jaren Jackson Jr., we have John Morant, we have Desmond Bane, and it doesn't work, and we're gonna trade them, even though we were the best team in the West. It's not good enough. We're not good enough. We need to move on. We need to rebuild. Like the bravery from the front office, the moxie needs to be like applauded, even though like the fan base is going to be sad because their team isn't going to be as good, yada, yada, yada. They could be the next Thunder in like 3 years. Like if they do this right, like they could be a Thunder, Houston Rockets type team within 3 years.
And I think once they made this trade too, they're like, okay, we understand that we're not getting a lot for Ja right now. So if we just get like something, 1 pick or something like that, we'll eat it at this point.
We'll just take it. Yeah.
Which I think in the offseason it'll get to.
We got our value out of Bane and Jackson Jr.
Yeah. 100%. Pistons add Herter,
right? Like wild. Good for Memphis.
They got Kyle Anderson back though. He's back from that conference, that playoff run team. He'll be there. No, but it is crazy to think like that whole draft class of like John Morant, Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, Tyler Hero, Kobe White, like that whole thing is just like, it's crazy to see how that panned out. That was a really hyped up draft class, and just seeing how it's gone so far is quite crazy. Is there any other big trades here? I think we've covered most of them. Pistons add Herter and Sarge, 3-team trade.
A little bit more like what is Chicago doing? But I like
JD Ivey going to Chicago.
I like a backcourt of Giddey and Ivy, but like the rest of it, I don't understand. Right? Like what Giddey, Ivy, Buzales, like it's building blocks of a fun little team, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, a lot.
And they did a lot of work, but none of it made a lot of sense. Like, what? Why do they have Colin Sexton?
They're actually, they're one of the most. Now that we're pretty much done this lift, they're one of the most active teams here, and I still have no idea what they're doing with their team.
None at all. Like,
don't know what they're doing.
No idea. Yeah.
Shout out to them though. Shout out for being
Chicago. Daniel Burnham, Chicago.
It's like you just call Chicago and they'll be like, "Yeah, we'll do that."
Yeah. You want that player? Cool.
Yeah, we'll do
That'll be neat.
Yeah, let's try it out. Well, I think that wraps it up for this. We'll talk about Charlotte on their next one. I'm sure they'll stay the best in the NBA.
Yeah, they'll still be good.
Yeah, they'll be all right. We got the All-Star coming up anyway, so we'll get into Charlotte on another time. So, anything else before we head out? I think we touched on quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, we touched on the deadline a lot, right? So now that the deadline has passed, it's beginning to think about the next portion of the NBA, right? Which is the run to the playoffs, right? Are you a team that is running to the playoffs? Are you looking for the best seeding that you can be? Are you watching your team to see like how each individual is playing into a conducive winning whole? Or are you on the other end of the spectrum and you're chasing like a draft pick and you're watching each player on your team to be like, well, I want some development, but I really want to lose at the same time. So it's a delicate balance when you're rebuilding. and you have to be like on board for it as like a fan, because you got to be really into your players, right? And you got to be really into their development. But hopefully your team is going for the playoffs and they're going to win, because that's a lot easier to watch and a lot more fun. It's a winning team. And just enjoy it, Oklahoma fans, because you're blessed.
It's a win or bust for them, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
A little bit. Yeah.
That will do it for this episode of the NBA Hangout. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. You can follow us at the NBA Hangout. You can follow on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at BJAY93_. You can follow Dave here on every episode. Thank y'all for hanging out. Peace.